Good morning, everyone. We now would like to start Climate Citizens Assembly, a practical workshop focusing on regional case studies from Japan and the UK. I shall serve as a moderator for the morning. I'm Ishikawa from Aegis. Thank you for your attendance today. Well then, on behalf of the organizer, I would like to invite Dr. Professor Mikami, Nagoya University, to give the opening remarks. Over to you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mikami from Nagoya University. Today's workshop is hosted by IGES, Institute of Global Environmental Strategies, and IDEP, Institute for Dialogue of Environmental Policy. And this is the grant need for the scientific research project on climate democracy. I serve as a representative. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to attend this practical workshop. Now, after the spread of this Climate Citizens Assembly, it's been 5 years since 2020. Climate Citizens Assembly has been held more than dozens of regions and communities. Climate Citizens Assemblies, no need to explain it to today's participants. However, randomly selected citizens from the general public to deliberate on climate change measures and make policy recommendations based on the sufficient information and come up with the policy recommendation. There has to be the wide-based consensus in order to materialize this change. And in order to facilitate this, this climate citizens assemblies is attracting much expectations in Europe as well as here in Japan. Now, when the climate citizens assembly start to be utilized, the approaches varies depending on the regions, and even within the same country, there are different approaches taken. Now, I'm doing the research as well as the practice of the climate citizens assemblies. I've been involved in 6 years, inclusive of the run-up to the actual implementation of the use of this climate citizens assemblies. It's not that easy to put into the manual. Now, this climate citizens assembly, this is one of the tools, has to make the best use of these tools, has to be discussed by the stakeholders in the respective communities. And this process is meaningful. It may sound as a roundabout way of doing so, but this is instrumental in fostering the collaborations in the respective community. There may be some people who have already exchanged and hosting this assembly, and those who might have already involved in such assemblies as participants, collaborators, as well as those willing to be a part in the future days. In order to have an opportunity, we hope to come up with a meaningful way to have this climate citizens assembly. So that is intended why we are holding this workshop. In doing so, we thought that there would be much to be gained if we could learn from UK, because they are more advanced and we can discuss and learn about similarity as well as the differences between UK and Japan. To this end, we invited Professor Stephen Elstob from the Newcastle University. Professor Elstob has been deeply involved in advising and evaluating the citizens' assemblies as a researcher from the very beginning. He is one of the leading experts of the climate citizens' assemblies in UK and in Europe. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to Japan, Professor Elstob. We also have another panelist, the leader of the Sustainable Carbon and Climate Change team from UK, Ms. Maggie Bonstad, even though there is a 9-hour time difference. And she will mainly join us during the discussion part in the second half. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Musanket as well. Now, until noon, you will listen into the lectures, reports, and share the examples of domestic and international assemblies. And in the afternoon, we would like to discuss how we can make more meaningful use of the assembly in Japan in the future. This will be a long day, so please be relaxed, lay back, and enjoy participating without any formalities. Last but not least, I would like to thank the IGES as well as the IDEP for their joint effort in organizing and making this has been possible. Japan-UK mutual learning on climate assemblies and climate democracy, as well as the workshop before and after today. In holding this, on top of Kakeihi grant and aid for scientific research, there is a support coming from Daiwa Anglo-Japanese Foundations as well as the Great Britain Sasakawa Foundations. We will hear from Tokorozawa, Atsugi, Zushi, Hayama, Tsukuba, organizers of the assemblies, as well as the Kanagawa Prefectural government, as well as the Pacifico, which has taken care of the venue and workshop operations, as well as the interpreters, as well as the other administrative supporters. My thanks goes to all these stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mikami. Next, on behalf of the co-sponsors from IGES Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, we have with us Mr. Takahashi, President of IGES. Good morning. I am Takahashi, President of IGES. I'd like to express my appreciation for your participation despite a busy schedule. On behalf of the co-sponsors, I'd like to say a few words to welcome you. As you already know, as to the climate assemblies, from 2019 to 2020, the climate assemblies took place in UK and France, and that led to the series of citizens' assemblies in European countries. They have been making contribution to formulation and implementation of the decarbonization strategies. In the UK, in particular, according to the Declaration on Climate Emergency at the municipality level, the citizens' assemblies were organized, and as a result, the global warming, the countermeasures have received a broad range of support. In Japan, as of end of December 2023, in 1,013 municipalities, including Tokyo, Kyoto, and Yokohama, they declared the carbon neutrality by 2050. Meaning that they cover entire country, and they are now in the process of formulating the decarbonization strategy and in the process of implementation to achieve such a commitment, somewhat similar to the situation in UK. The Sapporo and Kawasaki were engaged in a kind of the pilot type initiatives, and then Musashino, Tokorozawa, and other cities led the climate assemblies approach at municipality level, as in the case of the UK, and we hope that such activities would spread among other municipalities as well. And therefore, it is considered useful to establish the effective way of implementation as well as provision of information for a climate citizens assembly. At the same time, through such an experience and participation, the citizens are expected to realize the importance of countermeasures for global warming, and in fact, such citizens group are now trying to follow up those recommendations that they participated, which were adopted at the meeting that they have adopted, and thus this represents the change in behavior. Also, this is introduced as the latest innovative approach according to IPCC 6 report, this is the WG3 report. On the other hand, we see that such climate citizens assemblies are still in the process of development, and therefore it is essential to share the information about the case studies both within and outside of Japan. And therefore, this time we have invited Professor Stephen Elstad of Newcastle University, who has been instrumental in Climate Citizens Assembly in the UK at national level as well as at the municipalities level. And we believe it is quite timely that we have discussion with the participation by the Professor Elstad. And also, I'd like to express my appreciation to Professor Mikami of Nagoya University, who first suggested this workshop, and also to the members of the research in possibilities and challenges of climate, democracy in the Japanese project, the members, those involved as well. Thank you very much for your contribution. In 2019, IGES conducted the questionnaire, or the rather interview for the Climate Citizens Assembly in France, followed by the Climate Citizens Assembly investigation in UK and France in 2021, and then in Scotland and UK municipalities in 2022. And then in 2023, we conducted investigation on many publics, including climate citizens assemblies. And for 2022, utilizing the research fund, we also conducted the research on various guidances that were produced after the climate citizens assemblies in Europe and introduced those cases to Japan. Such literature studies, as well as the interview to researchers and practitioners, for those activities, as well as the webinars organizations, have been realized thanks to the cooperation with Professor Mikami of Nagoya University, as well as the Institute for Dialogue of Environmental Policy. And also today at this meeting, as is represented by those cities as Kawasaki, Tokorozawa, among others, we have dispatched experts to citizens' assemblies in Kawasaki, Tokorozawa, Zushi, Hayama, Atsugi, and Aoba. And also, we have been involved in planning of such an assembly that will take place in Suginami in Tokyo 1 week from now on March 20th. We sincerely hope that today's workshop would lead to further invigorating discussion among those concerned so that will lead to the development of the Climate Citizens Assembly in Japan. Thank you very much.